Hey folks, this is Mary. Welcome back to my channel. So we are on day 14 of 30 Inks 30 Days, and I'm doing a month of Noodler's ink. And as you can see here, my ink for today is Noodler's Baltimore Canyon Blue. This is one of the only Noodler's inks that I'm aware of that sheens. There are a couple, and this is one of them. If you've noticed sheen on any other Noodler's inks, I would love to know about it. But it's just not a property that they are very well known for. They're great shaders, but very few of them sheen. But this is my color. I mean, this shade of blue is my blue. It's so beautiful. So, we are going to start off with some swatching on our calendar here. Oops. Let's see, here is the bottle, and I've never heard of this before, but apparently the Baltimore Canyon is, oh, there's a little picture of it right there. It's a crevasse in the Chesapeake Bay. And what does that say? Blue whales and blue crabs flow something with Baltimore Canyon Blue. I cannot read what that says. Flow. I can't read what that says. There are blue crabs in the Chesapeake Bay, but I do not think there is a blue whale in the Chesapeake Bay. I don't know if there has ever been a blue whale in the Chesapeake Bay, but still makes for a catchy label. All right, so we are going to swatch, and you can see this blue. Can you see this blue? It is very intense and very lovely. Oh shoot, I've been pre-swatching these lately, and that has worked out well, but I forgot to do that, so that's okay. It'll dry eventually. And now I have a wet swab. Let me see. Capping the bottle because we don't want any ink catastrophes. All right, so this is Baltimore Canyon Blue. And this ink is very wet. I mean, it is very wet. In my limited experience, it has been very wet. So this will dry in a day or two, but we are going to move on. So let me see. Perhaps I can put something on here to prevent the page from getting smeared. Let's see. Well, no. What am I doing? Maybe I can just hold it. I will just hold it so the page doesn't hit it. Okay, so where's my pen? I have my trusty Kwz Go with a broad nib. And I'm going to try to write sideways again. So this is, let's see, can you guys see that? This is 414. Let me see. I'm very interested to test the water fastness of this ink because when I inked up my pen, I inked it up and I wiped off the nib and I was, reassembling the pen, and the nib absolutely peed on my hand. I don't mean it burped. I mean it peed like a racehorse on my hand. Both of my hands were blue. I looked like a Smurf. And I did this at work. So I went to the sink at work and lathered up my hands really well a couple of times. And then I got out some paper towels to dry my hands off and assess the damage. Because as you probably know, fountain pen ink, once you get it on your hands, it is there, at least a shadow of it is there for a day or two. So I was rubbing my hands dry and I realized that my hands were not blue. There was not a single trace or speck or shadow of blue ink on my hands. I could not believe it. So as intensely pigmented as this ink is, I would expect it to stain my hands certainly, but it didn't. So I just wonder if it is going to have any water resistance at all. I just don't know. Okay, Twisby, go broad. And you can see it's writing very wet, much wetter than our previous day's inks were. Alright, so I want to swatch the page. So let me get my Q-tip. I'm just wondering, it was really saturated from before, so let's just try the first swipe without any extra dipping. It did feel a little bit dry. And let's see how this page is doing. Oh, it's going to be wet till tomorrow. Let's see. In for a penny, in for a pound. We'll just keep going. And perhaps we can get this to dry a little bit. Doo-dee-doo-dee-doo. So how was your day today? Did you have any ink catastrophes? I get ink on my hands all the time. In fact, I can hardly ever say there's a time when I don't have some ink on my hands. But I haven't, let me pause and knock on wood. I have not had a terrible spill on anything. I have dropped a couple of inky pens or some inky Q-tips on my carpet here at home, but those feel pretty minor. I'm okay with those, but I've never spilled a bottle of ink or, poured ink on the carpet or anything like that. Are we drying? We're drying a little bit. Let's see. One more little swipe. Swipe, swipe, swipe. Alrighty, well, I think we are done with our Q-tip, and we are done with our bottle. So, I will set this aside for it to hopefully dry, and yeah, our little hash mark there should be drying too. Let's see. I want to set this guy so the drying pages will not stick to anything. Let's see. That is okay. That is doing okay. Okay, so what's next? Let's see. Here is my Midori MD journal. And let's find our ink page. So here is today's ink. I noticed right away that it was a beautiful shader. Let's see if we can get it in the light so we can see the shading. Well, you could see that pretty well, I think. Very nice shading. Very beautiful. A hint of sheen. Not too much, but as I was writing with it, it did have some sheen. Let's see. Alright, and here is our Hobonichi notebook. And I have not yet written my quote for today, so we will do that. My goodness, I'm forgetting which line I'm writing on. Oh, trying to squeeze that in. All right, so for those of you who are not familiar, James Michener is an author, and he wrote a book called Chesapeake. So this quote is referring to the fact that Chesapeake Bay has had some hard times. I know when I was growing up that we had all these Save the Bay posters out, and people were talking about how polluted the bay was, and we were trying to clean up the rivers that ran into the bay. So I thought this was very appropriate because I live very close to the Chesapeake Bay, and it's a big part of our lives here, and it's a really important feature of the countryside, and it's a major body of water, and it affects everything around it. So I think this is a hopeful quote. As bad as things have been, as polluted as things have been, they are looking up, and things are improving. So let's take a look at the shading and or sheen. Let's see what we can see. I do see some nice shading. I'm just not seeing much sheen, which is okay with me. I think the shading is gorgeous. Okay, and I probably can't close this notebook either because, again, the ink is really wet and it doesn't want to dry. Okay, so let us see how our inky, what is this? Our ink playground. Let's see how the ink playground is doing. So our swatch here, our daily swatch, whew, that sucker's still drying. He's mostly dry. I do see some sheen. Let's see if we can catch that in the camera. It's just a little bit. It's not going to show. And let's see. Okay. Ooh, I think you can see this better on our little strip here. Can we see that? I hate to sound like a broken record, but lighting remains an issue. And if you don't have good lighting, you can't see your sheen. So I don't want to make you guys dizzy by moving the book all over the place, but trust me, there is some lovely red sheen. Oh, maybe if I turn it this way. Is that working? I can see it, but I don't see it on the camera. Anyway, it's lovely and subtle, and I really like it. And yeah, look at my hand. It's just blue. Okay, I'm touching the hash mark to see if it's dry. It looks pretty dry. So let us get our pipette and get some water going here. All right. And then we will give him about 30 seconds to decide if he wants to do something. But yeah, so I figured my hands were going to be blue forever. I have gotten quite a bit of ink on myself just in the last 10 minutes I've been messing around with this stuff. But maybe we have special soap at work. I don't know. But I will certainly wash my hands in the bathroom here at home and see if I can get this ink off. And just in case anybody is wondering, I have tried baby wipes on ink, and it's very good at getting it off my hands. It might not get all of it off, but it does remove quite a bit of it, even after hand washing. So you can wash your hands, and then if you have a baby wipe handy, you can use a baby wipe and get some more of it off. Okay, I'm going to dab the ink. Oh my goodness. Look, there's barely anything on the paper towel. It is faintly blue. And look at this. You can't tell any difference. I mean, even up here on the Proctor's ledge, it's really faint on the camera. It's hard to see. But there's a little brown cloud where the water was. Can we see that on the camera? Barely. But right in this area, there's a faint brown stain where the ink moved just a teeny bit. But look at this. There's just nothing. It didn't move at all. Wow, I am amazed. Because I knew when I just knew when I washed my hands and the ink came off that this was going to be the least water resistant of the inks so far. And oh my gosh, this is as water resistant as Lexington Gray. And Lexington Gray, isn't that a bulletproof ink? I mean, that is an ink that doesn't move. Now, it looks a little funky here because I left the water on for so long that the page was starting to flake up. So that was not the ink's fault. That was the paper's fault. But still, wow. Well, that makes me happy. Now I can use this to address envelopes and cool stuff like that. Wow. Okay, good. Well, I don't know why, but I am super excited about that. I mean, I honestly don't care one way or another if an ink is waterproof. If I like it, I'm going to use it. But that just makes me happy that there is a beautiful, vivid blue waterproof ink. Yay. Okay. So let's do some comparisons here. Here is our swatch card. Now, I did use this ink when I was doing my 91 Days of Blue Inks last year. And I made this card then, and you can barely see the sheen on the card. Because, of course, this is watercolor paper. Oh, there it was. See, you can barely see it right there, right in this area. And this watercolor paper doesn't really show ink properties that well. But, this does have some nice sheen. And look at that shading. I really like this ink. Somebody else mentioned that this was her favorite ink, and I think this is going to have to go to the top of my list. I think this might be giving Horizon Blue a run for its money. I can't believe I said that. Don't listen, Horizon Blue. I didn't mean it. I take it back. No, I don't. Okay. Speaking of which, look. Here's Horizon Blue. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh, those are just the most beautiful things I have ever seen in my life. Okay, I'm going to zoom in a little bit because we just can't be this far away from such beauty. Oh, and my lighting is dreadful. But these blues are just so vivid and they pop so much, both of them. And actually, I think this has better shading than the Horizon Blue. Okay, I could stare at these inks all day, but I'm sure that would not be very interesting for you guys to look at. So let's move on. Here is Colorverse Supernova. I'm going to back up a teensy-weensy bit. Supernova is right at the top of my list also. So these here are some of my favorite inks. Now this one is a bit brighter of a blue, a bit more turquoisey. And these guys are a very similar, like that bright, medium, vivid blue with the red sheen. Okay, and this is my favorite kind of ink, the bright blue with the red sheen. So I have 50,000 cards to show you, but I will try not to bore you to death or make you run away by showing all these cards. I will just pick out the ones that I feel like are the best matches, and we'll go from there. Now, I have always heard that Majestic Blue is like the blue, the best red sheening blue. But compared to these guys, it seems kind of dull. You know, and it doesn't have that nice shading. So, And I have a bottle of Majestic Blue. Do I ever use it? No, I don't. Why is that? Because I love Horizon Blue. And now I have this giant bottle of Baltimore Canyon Blue, and I'm just going to keep using those guys. Okay, now here is Blue Velvet, which is very similar to Majestic Blue, but honestly, I like Blue Velvet better than Majestic Blue. So if y'all have heard about Majestic Blue, about how it's crazy and never dries and it smears and yada yada yada, here are some other blues for you to try. Oh, that's a good point. I don't know if that... I was going to see if this ink was going to smear. Okay, so here's our sheening area here, and I need to find a clean finger. So, okay, can we see my finger? It is... Now, this blob right there, that was a pre-existing blob. That was not from this test. But on my finger right here, you can see it's faintly blue. And here's my pinky. My pinky's a little bit cleaner too. So I'm going to swipe him over there. And again, that was a pre-existing blob. But right here, it is faintly blue. But I think that Majestic Blue and Blue Velvet smear much worse than that. Okay, so here's Majestic Blue. Just for fun, I made this card a year ago, 2 years ago, I don't know. So I'm going to smear my hand over the ink. And can you see my thumb? It is blue. It's really hard to tell. But yeah, so like 2 years later, this guy is still smeary. I would just wonder if all inks are like that. But yeah, you can see he's blue. He's bluish. Anyway, so I guess it's just a property of the ink. Okay. We're going to move on quickly through some of these inks. Here is Ferris Wheel Press Jelly Bean Blue. Another favorite because it is that bright, vivid blue with the red sheen. And gosh, these are really similar. Now these, let's move this over. These two, he's a bit darker. And I guess this one is a bit darker than all of them. Maybe he's closest to Blue Velvet. They're a bit darker blue with the red sheen. Here is Private Reserve Lake Placid Blue, and this is the old formula. Not much sheen on that one, but some nice shading. Here is Pure Pen Saltire, another favorite. And he is right in the ballpark with these guys. Here is Monteverde Ocean Noir, a lovely deep blue with some crazy sheen. Where's that sheen? There it is. So he is a bit darker than all of these guys. I don't know. He's kind of close to Saltire. This seems to be the dark pile on this end. Here is Diamine Sargasso Sea. And again, these two are just the brightest and the most vivid. And this one is a nice blue, but it's a bit darker. And I don't want to say duller because it's a really intense blue, but it just doesn't have that vivid pop that Baltimore Canyon Blue and Horizon Blue have. Here is Private Reserve DC Super Show Blue. I do not have Monteverde DC Super Show Blue, and I don't know what the difference is between them. I mean, obviously one's Monteverde and one is Private Reserve, but I don't know how close the colors are. And again, this is the old formula because I haven't gotten any of the new Private Reserve inks yet. Now this one is very close, I think, to Horizon Blue and fairly close to Baltimore Canyon Blue, but it does have some shading. So yeah, that's good. I'm sorry, I have to keep Horizon Blue on top. I'm going to put him underneath. Okay, Colorverse Depth. Now he is a bit darker, a bit more purpley, so he belongs in the darker pile. Here is Diamine Iridescent Maureen. And I think there's so much sheen on this that it's making the ink look a bit more purple. But on the edges here, you can see it's that bright deep blue. So this is a pretty close match. And I wonder, I've got Organic Studio in here somewhere. Although I think my swatch card for Organic Studio is not very good. So here's Organic Studio, and that is known for being a crazy sheener. And then here's this Diamine Maureen. And they are really similar inks. Yeah, this card just looks awful. I mean, you could see it is a sheener, but when I swatched it on there, it just didn't have any sheen at all. So I put a big blob in the middle there to make sure that I could see the sheen. But it's just not a very good example. But I think these two are very close to each other, and they're both really sheeny. But I think that's just a little bit too much sheen for me. So we will put those aside. Okay, Kwz Azure number 5. And he seems a bit more tealy. And I'm going to move this pile over because that pile's getting pretty heavy, pretty tall. Monteverde Sapphire, a beautiful color, but much, much too purple. And Oxford Blue, much too dark. Now, Private Reserve Naples Blue, again, this is the old formula. I have a little 4-pack of Private Reserve Blues, and this is right up there with Organic Studio. It is a crazy sheening ink. So if you like those sheeners and you can get your hands on some Naples Blue, I say go for it, because it's a beautiful blue, but it just sheens way too much for me. Let me see. Here's Liberty's Elysium, which is a really bright blue, but I don't know. These two guys just appeal to me more than Liberty's Elysium. I am never going to buy a bottle of Liberty's Elysium because it just doesn't do anything for me. Here is Pannonia Kekfesto. It's more of a darker kind of tealy blue. Here is KWZ. Let me scoot this over. KWZ Walkover Vistula. He's more teal. Three Oysters Cobalt. He's a bit closer to blue-black, I would think. Here is, did I already do this one? Ferris Wheel Press Jelly Bean Blue. I think I did. Gosh, I have duplicates of so many of my swatch cards, but swatching is so much fun. It really is. But wow, that has some nice shading too. This is a very pretty ink. Very nice. Here is Asa Blue. He's a bit lighter, a bit more turquoisey. Let's put somebody over here just so he has a little friend there. And here is Troublemaker Simoon, which has crazy sheen. I posted a picture of this on Instagram last year, and the way that the camera took the picture, it was just like blue with a pink stripe. Let me see if I can get it to do that again. It's not going to, but yeah, that whole area there is just solid sheen. It is crazy. So again, this one is right up there with Organic Studio and Naples Blue. There is Tasha AO Blue. He's looking a bit more purple. No. Here is KWZ Hawaii Blue. This one is beautiful. It's a bit more teal, but it has some lovely sheen and some lovely shading. I really enjoy this ink. But he's not the same as these guys. And Asagal, there is another one that I really love. And he's a bit of a softer blue, a little bit more purpley looking, but still a beautiful blue with some red sheen. And here is another Troublemaker ink blue guitar. Oh, this is one of the bottles that I'm waiting for to come from Germany. So beautiful. Oh, look at the shading on that writing. Can you see that? Probably not. But it is so beautiful. Ah, there we go. Oh, just look at that shading. And it does have some nice sheen to it. Oops. Come on, little camera. You can focus. But yeah, he's a bit lighter. Okay, are you guys getting tired of these blue cards? I could just talk about blue ink forever. I love it so much. Now, this is looking like Ralph Waldo Emerson. I mean, that is crazy. That is like tealy with red sheen. Yeah, he's definitely not a match. And there's Liberty's Elysium. Ooh, I just got this one. This is Colorverse NASA Blue. And again, this has that crazy, crazy sheen, but It's looking a bit darker, a bit more purpley, but of course that purple might be from so much sheen. But yeah, he's just not that really vivid blue that these guys are. Robert Oster School Blue, no. Here is Kobe Katoba Blue. And he is a nice blue with some red sheen, but just a softer blue. And let's see. Let's wrap up with Robert Oster Soda Pop Blue. This is a much brighter blue. I would say this would be closer to Supernova, which I showed at the beginning. So he's not the same kind of blue that these guys are. He's much more bright, much more turquoisey, but lots of pretty red sheen. Alrighty, well, I think that is all I wanted to talk about with this ink today, other than to say I love blue. And I obviously do not have enough blue inks yet. I have 50,000 blue inks, but there are more to be explored. So if you know of any other blue inks that you think might be in this category, please let me know, because I would love to know about them. And I hope you enjoyed this video today and enjoyed exploring Baltimore Canyon Blue with me. And I hope to see you tomorrow. So don't forget to subscribe and take care until next time. Bye-bye.